There is no hidden agenda or message in the article from me that some courses or subject areas are more important than others. Now,
No, it wasn't hidden. It wasn't hidden. It was like it's
it was in,
there.
it was in plain sight. Yes, exactly.
Hello and welcome back to Muppet of the Month for September 2021. I am joined by my superb co-host, Mr. Andy Brockman. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, Marc. It's wonderful to be back with one of my favourite strands in Watching Brief. Muppet of the Month. It's a constant delight.
It's been too long. It has been too long. Ever since we went weekly with the Watching Brief, we've been trying to figure out exactly how to and where to put Muppet of the Month, whether to tag it onto one of the weekly Watching Briefs or not. But we decided it deserves to be its own segment, a little bit like media does as well. And we were just thinking about when to bring it back. And this month, lo and behold, we were blessed by the Muppetry gods with a truly delicious opportunity in the form of the story of Professor Todd Walker. He is an Australian academic who recently took up the role of the Vice Chancellor at the University of the Highlands and Islands. He was supposed to take up this role in February, moving to Scotland from New South Wales in Australia, but was unable to because of pandemic and COVID concerns. So moving was difficult, settling down was likely going to have complications. But nonetheless, he made it, and he decided to set out his stall, did he not, with an introductory interview, of which I have a copy of some quotes from the Northern Scot, but I believe you've got a different newspaper, haven't you, Andy?
I have a copy of the Inverness Courier, but we compared notes before that, and we can vouch for the fact that what appears as quotations in both reports, in inverted commas, which in journalistic terms means they're direct from the source, they match up. So I think we can conclude, dear viewer, he did actually say what you were about to hear.
He did. He said the university has started a curriculum review, which will examine, among other things, workforce alignment and demand. The review is in its early stages and will take 2 to 3 years to complete. One of the biggest focuses, he said, over the next 5 years will be to make sure that the courses and training we provide are aligned to growth in the economy. I'd go on record, he said. He literally said, I would go on record as saying the days of having a vanity course, unit or subject are over. We are not here to study something for which there is no direct employment, growing market or sector. And this comes in a very specific context, doesn't it, Andy?
It does, but first of all, just put yourself in the position of an academic teaching a course at the University of the Highlands and Islands. Your new Vice Chancellor, who's effectively the chief executive of the business, comes in and says that he's going to do basically a wholesale review. He parachutes in. He's going to do a whole. And he says he's going to, in his first interview, before he's even sort of taken up physical residency, almost. He says basically, I'm going to review absolutely everything, and we're going to get rid of vanity courses where people aren't going to get employed if they take the qualification and leave. And every single one of those academics is thinking, wait a minute, is mine the vanity course that he's going to cut?
Exactly.
Do I need to be? What that must have done for staff morale, let alone for the morale of students, and particularly students on certain courses. Put it this way: when this was published, and seeing the reaction it got, because and obviously people in our sector immediately say, "Oh, he's talking about heritage, he's talking about the arts, he's talking about the humanities," given the current.
Talking about soft subjects.
Soft subjects. Put it this way: non-STEM subjects, non-science, technology, and mathematics and engineering subjects. And so, it looks like he's going to try and move the university away from things like culture, which, in an area like the Highlands and Islands of Scotland, is a really important issue. Heritage, culture, archaeology, environment, all these things are seen as really, really important.
Language,
Um,
music, in lots of
Language, music,
intangibles.
exactly,
Yeah. Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And he appears to be dissing all of those things
Yeah.
as part of the university's mission.
But it's
Um,
okay. He's in line, isn't he? He's in line with policy. This is what matters. He's read the
well,
room.
no. He didn't. He hasn't read the room. The room was in absolute uproar the moment this
Sorry,
hit the
sorry.
screens.
He's read the ironic Zoom call.
Well, no. He's read too much of what our esteemed Education Secretary Gavin Williamson has been saying.
Yes, yes.
Because a few months ago, Education Secretary Gavin Williamson gave a speech to university leaders where he talked about, and in fact, this tied in with certain decisions that government's made over um, making arts and humanities subjects like music, like performing arts, like media, non-strategic, which means reduced funding. Archaeology almost went that way.
Well, archaeology was
Although
on the list. Was on the list.
archaeology was on the list, it's now been taken off.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, other humanities subjects are still on the list for reduced funding.
Hmm.
And Williamson basically said that he wanted to get rid of what he called quotes low value courses, and that's courses which have high dropout rates or graduates don't achieve average earnings or above. And again, art subjects, archaeology, are disproportionately affected by that kind of decision basis for decision making.
Yeah.
So, this is the context in which the esteemed professor has taken up his post.
Well, he also, I mentioned the ironic Zoom call because last week Gavin Williamson appeared in a conference to tell the university management and leaders that he wants people back face to face in universities, teaching face to face. He said via a Zoom call from London. I think the conference was up here in Newcastle actually, and he was on a video call saying you lot need to stop doing this, stop it. So it's just Gavin Williamson is a walking candidate for replacing the Hobby Lobby at some point, but he's yet to fully match in terms of Muppetry.
Well, exactly. Unfortunately, in terms of the strict criteria that we apply to Muppet of the Month, mistaking two of Britain's leading black sporting personalities for each other doesn't. We can't really apply that as it's not strictly a heritage issue. But
it is evidence for the prosecution, my lord.
Yes, exactly.
He's such a pillock. Anyway, so
but put it this way: amongst some pretty stiff competition, and among what are supposed to be friendly forces, which are the voters on the Conservative Home website, he is seen as the least competent government minister, according to a poll that Conservative Home ran.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yes.
So anyway, so this is the context. You can see why the guys come to Scotland and said, "Hey, we're going to get rid of this stuff." Oh, brilliant! But then, how long did it take for things to change? Oh, actually, it looks like a day.
It might even be less than 24 hours. The initial report appears to be the one in the Inverness Courier, which I quoted, which came out on the 6th of September, and in fact, it's quoted in the universities. There's a wonderful phrase that grew out of Kelvin Mackenzie's time on the Sun newspaper, where if they've got a story ready to go, and then the story was suddenly found to be unprintable for whatever reason, either it wasn't true, or my learned friends had just sent a letter. Basically, if you wanted to G up the newsroom with a story, he'd say, "Ferret down the trousers." The idea being that will really get somebody jumping up and down and going and concentrating on their job. But if he wanted to stop that and take a different direction, he'd shout at the newsroom, "Reverse ferret."
Reverse ferret.
And reverse ferret. And now, is this a revelation to you?
I'm learning. Every day's a school day.
Absolutely. No, ever since that appeared in a wonderful book called Stick It Up Your Punter about the history of the Sun newspaper, reverse ferret has become shorthand for somebody making a rapid, very embarrassing backtrack.
Yep.
And
massively, tactical retreat? No, it's more
screaming handbrake U-turn.
And it came in the form of a Twitter thread published seemingly on the day of the Inverness newspaper article, published at 3:27 p.m. So just before close of play.
Look, put it this way: this is the public relations equivalent of a zookeeper following an elephant with a massive pooper scooper. Right? This is the kind of cringe-making thing that PROs have to do.
But what did they say, Andy? What did they say? I'm on tenterhooks.
I will quote it directly because it's the subtext and so it is just glorious here. So this is a six-part thread, and I'll read the first part of it. Statement from Think University of Highlands and Islands # Principal and Vice Chancellor Professor Todd Walker.
Yeah.
So this is deconstructing. This is a statement in response to his direct quotes that were given in the Inverness Courier.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So here we go. I understand the concern. I won't.
Does he say good day? Good day. I understand.
No. We're not going to go. We're not going to go down that route. Okay. We might suggest later that coming from outside, he maybe hadn't quite picked up the cultural vibes.
Okay.
But anyway, what he said was, he said, okay. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I understand the concerns of some students and staff following the article in today's Inverness Courier, especially the headline focusing on, quotes, no more vanity courses at UH&I, the very thing that he'd actually said.
And understand the concern. Yeah,
I understand the concern. He then went on to basically shoot the messenger. The tone of the article is at odds with my thoughts and hopes. I'm sorry for any confusion or distress this has caused. That was never my intention when I agreed to give the interview.
Okay, so can I just go back here? Let me just quote. It says here, I'd go on the record. This is his quote. I'd go on the record as saying the days of having a vanity course, unit or subject are over. He told them, this is me on the record. I am sorry, go on. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt.
Full reverse ferret screaming handbrake U-turn.
Yeah, okay, right.
I'm picking up the quotation again. I'm picking up the thread again.
Yep.
There is no hidden agenda or message in the article from me that some courses or subject areas are more important than others. Now,
no, it wasn't hidden. It was like it's there. It's in
plain sight. Yes, exactly. Now, this is either very funny or it's full-on gaslighting, depending on which way you look at it. Anyway,
okay, yeah.
And the thread continues. There is more. As you know, we lead the field and have flagship courses in a wide variety of subject areas, including those in arts, humanities, social sciences, as well as engineering and health.
So presumably those were his targets.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for confirming that, mister. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes on. Our curriculum review will examine what our students and communities want and need in the future. That is the mission of our university. It will be a transparent process. In other words, I won't just give an interview saying what I'm going to do. And it will take 2 to 3 years to complete and will involve staff and students throughout in its implementation, so long as they agree with my basic principles and the way I want to take things. And then the thread concludes. Learning in all its forms is transformational, and our university has a responsibility to continue to provide education to our communities. I look forward to working with you all as we develop and grow our university. Professor Todd Walker. I think that's actually my head of comms, PP, Professor Todd Walker.
Yeah.
That was an attempt. That was if our viewer can look back and remember the wonderful Armando Iannucci produced series called The Thick of It about inept politicians and their public relations teams, their comms teams, or the film In the Loop that grew out of it. This is a reenactment in higher education of an episode of The Thick of It. This is higher education comms as performance art.
Well, the very first episode of The Thick of It involves people announcing an off the top of their head policy, not running it by the Treasury, going and announcing it in a school, and then having to, at the last second, in front of all the press, announce nothing because they've been told they can't announce something because the Treasury won't pay for it. And in the meantime, you have an ex-boyfriend of a journalist giving her a story, and then they're having to say no, the story doesn't exist. And then you have the most amazing introduction, I think, to a character who went on to deliver tremendously well throughout the whole series, Malcolm Tucker, when he comes in to played by the incredible Peter Capaldi, of course, yes.
Who not only played Doctor Who, but also played an archaeologist in Ken Russell's Lair of the White Worm.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Yeah, he did. But nonetheless, he starts strong and just gets better and better in terms of the quality, the sheer quality of his insults and descriptive threats and violence, based broadly speaking on Alistair Campbell, I believe.
Yeah. Tony Blair's head of comms.
Yeah. It's very much in that sort of vein. But the thing is, here in the article, again in quotes, we have you can start to see that there is energy coming back into the economy, built around a number of different industries. Our role, he says, and we have a duty of care here, he says, is to provide for the workforce of the future to help fuel that growth. So that's what he says their role is. But then he ends the Twitter thread here saying, I look forward to working with you as we develop and grow our university, Professor Todd Walker. Massive reverse ferret. Reverse threaded.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the thing is, it can't even work out if it's a full-on reverse ferret or it's an attempt to gaslight the people who read the original article.
Yeah.
Because at one level it's saying, I don't, all those things you read in that article, don't believe a word of it because it's not what I'm about.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's talking about doing a review of subjects and things like that, which sounds exactly like what he was talking about.
Especially when you say, I'm happy to go on the record.
Well, exactly. I mean,
as saying.
Yeah. I mean, and given that the man's hardly even taken up his post, it's one of the most auspicious debuts on the higher education scene I think I can remember. It is, put it this way. One comment on the. On the Twitter discussion of this afterwards, and then obviously you always go to Twitter for the best responses to this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But what one correspondent on Twitter said, he either said what he's reported to have said, or he didn't. If he did, he should resign. If he didn't, he should sue. And that's exactly it. It may be backpedaling, it may be a reverse ferret, he may be laying down a smoke screen, he may be laying down a screen of gaslight. Mm-hmm. But he said what he said. It's on, as he said, it's on the record now. Mm-hmm. And whatever he does now is going to be judged against this particular speech, this particular article. I said on Twitter that after this kind of interview, he's unlikely to be allowed out on his own for the near future and might not even be allowed to use scissors unsupervised.
Quite possibly not, no. And I suppose on a serious note, though, we should also say that we've mentioned Gavin Williamson, but also one of the reasons why he's following that lead is that Williamson has announced and seems to believe that universities exist and should exist to provide directly for not just the economy, but also actually the economy that's in their immediate vicinity. So that, for example, somehow Newcastle University only serves Geordies, in terms of its output. That's nonsense. So the whole approach to this is ridiculous. I should also say on a serious note as well. This did start a conversation when I shared this article on the Facebook page, where some people were saying, well, actually, universities do need to do better at preparing people for the world of work, and that is true. That is absolutely true. But the beauty of studying something because you're passionate about it, studying something because it's there to be studied, is exactly what higher education exists for. It is there to do that. That's part of its function. Further education and higher education, I think, should be more closely linked. Further education in this country often being linked with local colleges and and those sorts of long and online distance courses type thing. These things should be more closely linked. But the idea of a university existing to meet the needs of an economy is myopic in my humble opinion. Not least because the economy shifts and changes. What happens when a bubble bursts? Do we then suddenly go in? Everyone then becomes the next fashionable thing. Yeah, higher education by whim is whimsy. And it's woeful. Anyway, I just wanted to say, after the last watching brief we did, we mentioned at the end our Patreon. We are very very pleased to see that we got a Patreoner, a patron from that actually. So thank you very much for your support for the leek and potato soup tier. We've decided that I'm potato and Andy is leek. And if you like the work,
no, it's just that I like to receive leaks because they're often a good story.
Oh, hey, cool. I like it. Pew 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 pew. That's very good. Anyway, if you like the work that we are doing now with the Watching Brief and have been doing, frankly, for the past few years, several years, in fact, but especially now on our weekly format, please do feel free to support us. You can support us for as little as $1 or £1 a month, and it'd be very welcome, very well received, and it'll be put to good use. So, with that said, Muppet of the Month, what a brilliant return to this segment. Did you think we'll be able to top this in the near future?
I don't know. I mean, I think Professor Walker is going to be a hard act to follow.
Yeah,
I think when we come to do Muppet of the Year, he's already a contender.
Oh, he is. He really is. Yeah, we need to send him a certificate. I mean, we sent Neil Ackerman one that he proudly hanged in his office. So we'll have to send him one. Yeah, welcome to the UK. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.